This is Big Rob again, and today we're going to be working on a single pole switch. And then when I'm going to take the single pole switch, and later on in another episode we're going to do a three-way switch, and we're going to do a four-way switch. So in these next several lessons will be a series of maybe 6 or 7 lessons. I want to teach you how to do very different switches. So today we're going to do a single pole switch, where you bring in the power from the panel, you come in to the switch, leave the switch, and go to the light. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to show you how I'm going to wire it. So what I like to do is I like to give at least run the wire past the box. So when I'm running my 90s inside the box, so I try to run it a little bit past the box. And then the first thing I would do is I would secure my wires with some staple nails. First wire from the box. Then the second thing I would do is I would take my hand and you would have to come 6 inches outside the box. So once I identify my 6 inches, I make my cut, then I roll my wire up and just put it in the box. And that will be my first run. My second run would be, I would go and I would go back into the box. Then I will be going up into the light, and I just wrap it around the box. So that will allow me to give me my 6 inches outside the box, because the NEC code book says that your wire should be at least 6 inches outside the box to give you enough wire to wire up any receptacle, switch, or any light. So I will turn it in. I'll make my cut. Then I will take another staple as I'm leaving the box. Now I'll take another staple and I will center it in the middle of the beam, no more than 12 inches. The first nail should be within 12 inches of the box. Then I will turn around . I would take my wire and go inside the light. Once I go inside the light, I will give it another nail, another staple nail, just to make sure you secure it and the wire's not moving all over the place. See how neatly I ran this wire? Then I will come into my panel box. If you notice, I'm gonna bring you up a little closer, and we're gonna go into the panel box. This would be a panel where your single breaker would come in. It'll probably be a 15 amp or 20 amp breaker. And we will go into that. We will go into this panel so we can pull our power all right? So since this is a practice area, I use something what you call as a pigtail. So I'm going to test it in a very different way. This is what we do when you teach at a trade school. We use a pigtail and then we wire it up into the receptacle and allow us to demonstrate that we are running it effectively. So then the second part I would do is you always got to have a box cutter. I would go deep in the back of the box cutter. And I'll make my cut. Because the only thing this insulation shouldn't be inside the box. Only thing should be inside the box is wires. I make my cut. This is for my power coming in, and this is for the power going out to the light. I reach in. If you're an electrician, you have to have yourself a good box cutter. Because you don't want to use a knife. So the knife slips up. The box cutter digs into the insulation, and it allows you to make an easy cut. And if you notice, I got my tool belt on because I'm always putting my tools back in my tool belt. Like if you're a new electrician, you gotta have a comfortable tool belt where it's not sliding all over the place. And you don't only put what you need in there when you're working on different assignments. Because sometimes when you put too much, it becomes a weight. Sometimes your belt can get caught on the ladder. You want it to be very, very comfortable, so you just grab it, work with it, throw it right back in. Because you want to be able to work with some level of speed. Then you come in and put that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a space creating a space, opening up one of these holes so I can put a connector in here so I can connect my wires. So the first thing I do here is I did my measurements. And so what I have to do is I have to what you call a Romex connector. If you look at if you haven't seen one, you young electricians, this is what a staple nail looks like. So then I come here catch it there. I make sure I don't, if you notice, I haven't really pinched the Romex because one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to pinch the Romex because you can create an arc. And sometimes you just secure it enough where it don't move. Now I have my power source going to my breaker. I have my power line coming into the switch. And I have my power line leaving the switch. So now, what I do, I had to grab a single pole switch. This is a single pole switch. The single pole switch has 2 terminals and a ground. That's a single pole switch. That is when you're trying to wire the light in the bedroom or in a room and then you're going with one switch that's going to control all the lights. Even though you could have multiple lights, all you're doing is jumping the lights in a series. But this right here, the first thing I would do is I would start prepping for my switches and the J hooks. So you remember in my last episode when I showed you how to prepare your J hooks. You see how I'm preparing the J hooks? I'm preparing the J hooks. All I'm doing is grabbing it, spicing it, then I'm grabbing the top of the tip and I'm making it like a little umbrella. It's called a J hook. Right? First thing I would do is I take my switch, and on this switch it says top, right? So the top will go to the top, right? And then I would take this bottom screw terminal, and I would tighten it up, right? Then I would take the top black, because neutrals don't go on switches. Neutrals are, and I'm going to run that, I'm going to explain that to you in a few seconds. So now, I made my J hooks, and so now what I'm doing is, I'm connecting it on the screw. And the way, when you put it on the screw, you always put it and make the direction of the umbrella in the way you want to screw so you can get a secure connection. Then what I do is, as I said earlier, I take the two neutrals and I bond them together. So you see, if you notice, I'm holding the neutral tight with my left hand is on my right, and I turn it, and I don't move my left hand, so I can get it. And if you notice, I have a secure bond. And I talked about that in one of my courses where I talk about bonding and how bonding is important in your connection, because it makes sure that you don't get no loose connection, like you might see a blinking light, or if you touch the switch, it's blinking. That's because sometimes you don't have a secure connection. And then I take that, and I take the wire nut, tighten it up. I take the two neutrals, and I put it in the back of the box. So now I have everything connected, and the only thing I need to connect now is the wire, is the grounds. So what I have to do is, I'm gonna take a step back so you can see it. I take the two grounds, and I give it space, and I put my finger here, and what I do is I begin to braid it. So once I braid it, I take my lineman, this is my lineman, I hold it, hold it, hold it. Now you see how I got that good bond? Then I take this other piece here, and I cut it. Now what I usually do, I don't throw these away. I can save these. I can use these for like other situations, other like bonding situations for grounds. And then I turn around, I take this green nut, which is for grounding, and if you notice it has a hole in the middle, right? You take it and you slide it over. Slide it over. Then you cut it. Make an umbrella again. I call it a J hook. it looks like a little umbrella. And then I connected to the ground screw. I tighten it up. After I'm done, stick it in. I take my 638 screws, I tighten them into the box. And I always tell my new electricians, if I'm overseeing the job, I said, don't put the screws on. I need to see that you wired it correctly. So I'm gonna put it in halfway, but it's secure. Because you know after you finish, you put your plate over. Then I come here, again, I pull out my box cutter, and I go deep inside the box. And you see how I'm coming down with that? I make sure my hands are away from the box cutter. I dig deep. I come in here. You see I'm moving around and I'm putting everything back. See, now I'm about to wire up my light. So now the goal is I cut it down, and I don't want to waste, I hate wasting that much wire. But I always use those wires for pigtails, or I can take them to a yard and get a couple dollars for it. See how I'm stripping the wire, and then I'm making my J-hooks, because now I'm using a porcelain light. So since I'm using a porcelain light, I don't ground that porcelain light because it has no ground on it. So what I go do here is I take my neutral and I wrap it around the silver screw, because the silver screw represents the neutral. Then I take my hot and I wrap it around the gold screw, because black goes with gold and the white goes with silver. And since this is a porcelain light, I don't ground it. I just turn around and I put it up like that. So now if you notice, you see. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to connect my power, and I'm going to show you how this lights work. So now that you notice that I wired up the switch to the light and then to the panel, right? So now, ta-da, I done set up a single pole switch. And this is how I don't care what room you are in America, what building you are in America, when you run the single pole switch, this is how you do it. Now, if you want to run multiple lights in your room, all you do is jump one wire in and then jump it over to another light. And keep jumping and keep jumping and keep jumping and keep jumping. And that is something I will show you in the near future. But you new young electricians, you always got to be very, very neat, because 110.12 in the code book says that everything we do has to be done in a professional-like manner. This is your single pole switch. Very easy, not hard to do. Even if you're working on it and you're working on a hot, and one of the wires are hot that's empowering your light, just always hold the insulation. Keep your hand away from the copper and keep the copper away from any metal. This is Big Rob. The more you know, the more you grow. Peace.